We had a great meeting with NATO, the Secretary General, and we're going to do something a little different for this country. We're going to supply weapons to NATO at a large amount. They're going to deliver the weapons, and they're going to pay for 100% of the weapons. So, a little different. A little different. Hi, John. So we're really, that's a big thing. And we thought we had 4 deals, Howard, right, with Putin. Somehow they end and we get off the phone. Oh, that was a very nice conversation. And then he sends missiles into buildings someplace. I said, what was that all about? So anyway, so we're going to be doing that with NATO, and it's fully approved, fully done. And we'll send them a lot of weapons of all kinds, and they're going to deliver those weapons immediately to the site of the war, different sites of the war. And they're going to pay for 100% of them. This all was made possible by going from 2 to 5% a month ago when I went there. So, yeah. And those countries, those European countries, and I said, look, we have an ocean. It's not fair that we did, because under the Biden administration, we paid about 3.5 times more than they did. We were in for $350 billion. Got nothing for it. We were in for 350 and they were in for 100. So, which really meant one thing, because you have great business leaders here. It meant very simply that they were better negotiators than our president was. But so this is a very important thing, and hopefully that will come to an end. At the end of 50 days, if we don't have a deal, then we're going to have to we have no choice but to do secondary tariffs. You call it secondary tariffs, which are pretty tough. Which we don't want to have to do, but let's see what happens. But we thought we had a deal. Numerous times I'd get home, I'd say, First Lady, I had the most wonderful talk with Vladimir. I think we're finished. And then I'll turn on the television, or she'll say to me one time, wow, that's strange, because they just bombed a nursing home. I said, what? So we don't like that. But I want to thank you all for being here, and welcome to the first ever White House Summit of Faith and Business Leaders. You're really some of the greatest business leaders in the country. When I looked at some of the names, I said, whoa, that's big stuff we have here today. In fact, before I was president, I would have been very intimidated, but now I'm president, so I don't have to be. But today we celebrate the core values that built this country: and freedom, hard work, risk-taking, and above all, trust in Almighty God. You're very much into God in this room, and that's very nice. You're business leaders who believe strongly. We have some business leaders that don't believe strongly, and somehow you and I don't like them as much. But I want to thank Pastor Paula White. She's been my friend for a long time. And John, for convening this incredible group. Her husband's one of the most talented musicians in the world. Stand up, John. Stand up. Okay? I stole a couple of his songs for the rallies, and he never sued me, so I was very happy. But we all come from the same place, right? So it was great, and we appreciate it, John. Thanks as well to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who's doing a fantastic job. He goes on television and he calms the market. I go on television, I rile the market, and I say, we better send him in there, Howard, right? And the market's become so calm and nice. So you're doing a good job, Scott. Thank you very much. You make any deals today? We got a lot of them, boy, I tell you. We have. But the best deal is just sending out the paper. They keep saying, well, he hasn't made the deal. Well, we made a number of deals, but why isn't he doing deals? Because the paper is better than any deal we can make. Do you understand? The people in this, Kevin, they asked you that question this morning. You were great this morning, but they said, well, when is he going to start making deals? The next time we could say, just, no, every time he sends out a document that you have to pay 35%, or 25%, or 50%, or in one case, 100%. Those deals, you can't beat those deals, but we're still willing to talk. And they all, literally every country wants to make a deal. We're in a good position. You would call it a position of strength. I don't talk that way because I'm a politician now, unfortunately. And I don't want to talk about strength. I just want to say we have to be treated fairly, because we were ripped off on trade and the military for, we protected other nations. Nobody paid us. Nobody did anything for us. Nobody helped us. And that's much different. NATO's a much different situation now. When I got in, I believe we were paying for 100% of NATO. And now they're paying, they went from 2%, but they were paying 1%. To 5% that they're paying. It's a big difference. It's about $1 trillion difference. And they're wealthy, for the most part, wealthy countries. And some of them they're among the most powerful, among the wealthiest countries in the world. So they're going to start paying, and they want to pay. And we had a great meeting about 1 month ago. That set the stage for what happened here. But it's very important. So I want to thank Scott for being here. I want to thank Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. You are doing a good job. Am I right when I say I really don't want deals? I just want the paper to get sent? Right? It's true. I don't know if this is on television. Yeah, it's always on television. SBA administrator and a great person, cabinet member, a friend of mine for a long time, Kelly Loeffler. Kelly, you're doing great. She's small business, right? She only does small business, but when you add it all up, it's the biggest bank in the world by a factor of about 10, right? She's doing a great job. And director of the White House Faith Office, Jenny Korn, who's also amazing. Thanks, Jenny. From the earliest days of our republic, the steady compass of faith has guided the strong hands of American workers, builders, and entrepreneurs like really no other. Our country was founded by pilgrims and believers, and every generation since, Americans of faith have built our communities and forged new industries and enriched our country by millions and millions of people and ways. John D. Rockefeller, J.C. Penney, Charles Goodyear, Truett Cathy, and frankly, we have people I could name right in this room sitting here that their names are every bit as big as that. They were inspired by their love of God, and now the proud tradition continues with all of you. And this group reminds us, as a nation that prays is a nation that prospers. And you see that. I think one of the reasons we went so bad is they really wanted to take God and religion out of your lives. And there was nobody to, look up to. There was just nobody. It was, we were freewheeling. And we can't freewheel. Now we have to bring religion back into the country, and we're starting to do that, I think, at a very high level, Paula, a very, very high level. You see churches are starting to fill up again. Under the Trump administration, America is prospering, and America is winning like never before. Our country is back. So I was in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and then a month ago we were in Europe with all of the NATO countries, European countries, and plus Canada. And almost everyone said almost the exact same words. They said, 1 year ago, your country was dead. Terrible term, but that's what it is. Your country was dead. We thought it was finished. And now you've got the hottest country anywhere in the world. It's true. Is the hottest country. Did you see they found $25 billion of essentially profits last night? They said, where did it come from? It came from management, but it came from tariffs. And it came from, good business skill. And I've always made money. Now I'm making it for you people. I've had good days and bad days, but in good days and bad days, I always found a way to make money. And we have to do that for our country. But and we did $188 billion in Scott just now, $188 billion in tariffs, and we haven't even started yet. That's only for cars and steel. We actually have barely started. The economy is roaring, business confidence is soaring, incomes are up, prices are down, and inflation is dead. It's dead. We have a bad Fed chairman, really bad. If he would lower the rates, and I tried being nice to the guy, it doesn't help. He's like a knucklehead. No, he's a knucklehead. A stupid guy. He really is. Each point, think of this, each point costs us $360 billion. billion. 1 point, 360 billion. 2 points, you got 600, 700 billion dollars. And we're way high. We're at 450 or 425, 450. And how do you go borrow money at 1% when the Fed has you at 450? And, it's not that easy. I get angry at them. Why are we paying so much? Because he's got you up at this number. And we should always be the lowest. Now that we're doing great, we have no inflation. Think of it. Our stock market hit record highs. Everything's hitting a record high. We're really running good with no inflation. And we should be at 1%. We should be less than 1%. I think Switzerland is the lowest at like 0.5%. We should be lower because without us, there's no world. I don't want to sound overly aggressive, but without us, you have no world. And we put our country on solid footing. We had a man as president who was the worst administration, worst president in the history of our country. We've had some bad ones, but he's the worst ever. What he did at our border can never be forgotten. 25 million people allowed to pour into our country, all unchecked, unvetted, murderers, gang leaders, gangsters, people that you don't want in our country under any means, terrorists. We have many terrorists in our country, and we're watching them close. Tom Homan, by the way, is doing a phenomenal job. Christine Noem is doing a phenomenal job. We had last week, it was reported, nobody, not one, even I don't know if I believe that number, but it's done, the numbers are done by liberals. So they said, did you know that? They said we had nobody, zero, cross our border. It's the first time that ever happened. Zero. Did you hear that? It's like crazy. But we have people from mental institutions, insane asylums even. That's a mental institution on steroids, essentially. But we had people coming into our country. We can't have them. And we have to get them out. But we can never forgive this administration, this past. And I'm okay with administrations. I mean, I can go through a Democrat administration, say, hey, look, they worked hard, they tried hard. But the things that they did to this country, we can never, ever forget it. From the rigged elections to the border, to the transgender for everybody, from men playing in women's sport. You ever take a look at some of these records? There was a long-distance race, a marathon, where they had a great female runner, a number of them, but they had one in particular, and they had just an average male runner who had transitioned. He won the race at the end of the day by 5 hours and 14 minutes. They waited for 5 hours. The weightlifting records are better, though. The weightlifting records are better. The way they took a record that hasn't been broken for 18 years. 18 years. And, they'd add a quarter of an ounce on each side of the barbell. And they'd just a little tiny piece of stuff. She'd go up and she could get it up. And this guy comes along. Have you lifted before? Yes, at a low level. He was a low-level lifter as a man, but transitioned. And he goes up to that thing. Bing, 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 bing. Could have done it all day long. Broke the record by 119 pounds. The whole thing is crazy. The swimming records are pretty good, too. You got to see that. I told the story. You had this great group of young ladies, and they grew up with each other because, they sort of swam at the top level. And they were swimming, and one girl was seriously injured. She looked left, and she saw the same girl she grew up with, Kelly, in California. Same girls, that young age, they sort of rise to the top. She looked to the right, she saw the same girls, but there was this giant standing right next to her. And he had transitioned. You probably heard this. He had transitioned. And she never seen her before. And when the race was started, he blew by her so fast that she suffered massive windburn. They had to take her. And he got out of the race and he had a little lunch, and then he came back and watched the rest of the young ladies finish up. The whole thing is crazy. And it's so demeaning to women. It's so demeaning to women. But it is what it is. But what they did to this country, and we ended all of that, as you probably know. We ended the woke. The woke stuff is no longer in favor. But we're doing fantastically. Wages for blue-collar workers have surged by the most in over 60 years. Gas prices have reached the lowest level in 5 decades. Actually, we're going to see some really good numbers. Drill, baby, drill. Drill, baby, drill. I got to make sure that people can afford to produce the gas. But the gas has gone to the lowest level in decades. And you're seeing $1.99, $1.98, and I saw $1.95 at certain states. Not California, because every time it goes down, they add taxes onto it. You're at $6, $7. They just add taxes. All they do is they keep adding taxes. Terrible governor, doesn't know what he's doing. He may be a candidate, but if you go by success, you can't have him be a candidate. And on Friday, it was announced that the United States Treasury ran a budget surplus. Is that true, Scott? In June, for the first time in many, many decades. Wow. I didn't know that. That's a good one, too. I'm going to have to put that in my repertoire, Scott. But the biggest victory of all came 10 days ago when I signed the one big, beautiful bill into law. Right? And just as I promised, we did something that was amazing. Everybody was against it. I wanted it. I know Scott and Howard liked the idea of it too, but it was very risky because they've never done anything like it in terms of the size. It's the biggest bill ever passed, of its kind ever passed, by far. And they were going to cut it into 2, 3, or even as many as 7 bills. And I said, the problem is that in the one big bill, everybody gets something. When you cut it into 7s, there are 4 or 5 of them, or 3 of them, right, Kevin, that you get nothing. All they're going to do is fight it. You'll never get them passed. And so we went with it. I was on a show called Deface the Nation. Have you heard of it? They're so bad. They're so bad. These people, they're so average. But I was on this show, Deface the Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, President Donald J. Trump on Deface the Nation. No, but they're all so bad. But we were on the show, and she said to me a question. She said, what would you call this bill? Would you want to have it called One Big Beautiful, or would you rather see it? I said, what I want is one great, big, beautiful bill. And Speaker Mike Johnson, John Thune, they were watching, and they said, what a great name for the bill. We actually ended up calling it that. Huh? We took the great out. I actually liked it even better. One great, big, beautiful. But they said, let's a little bit of a low key. But we got to pass. But we got to pass because there's something for everybody. And there are things that people don't like, but you need them for the country. You have to do some things that are great for the country, but they wouldn't necessarily get the votes. And we got the votes. Think of it, not one Democrat vote. All the goodies that we got, not one Democrat voted in either the Senate or the House. And we're talking about tax cuts and business. So many different things that are so good, right? Not one Democrat vote went with us, not one. So we had to get almost every. In the House, we got 218 to 2. Think of that, 218 to 2. Nobody could do that. It's never been done. And that says, and we have Rand Paul Jr., who's a guy we call him Rand Paul Jr. because he always votes no. A guy named Massey, always votes no. We had another guy who I helped very, very strongly, helped him with a very personal situation, got him through it, and he voted no. I said, thank you very much, I appreciate it. And then we went to the Senate, and you had, of course, Rand Paul, who always votes no. They call him Just Say No. I think they think it's... No, I think I got him elected. I had to go to Kentucky twice to do rallies to get him elected twice. But they forget. A lot of politicians forget. And then we had a couple of others. Susan Collins, she's another one. Just say no. She always brutal. And we had some people. Tillis, I guess, was a no, right? He was a no. And They said he was brave. He said no to the president, but he resigned the following morning. So anyway, that was terrible, I thought. But we couldn't lose more than 3, and we had 3 that said no, and so we won that 50 to 3. So it's pretty tough. And a senator came over to me and said, "I can't believe you won the House." Great guy, this senator, Eric Schmidt, who's doing a great job. He said, "I can't believe you won the House." I said, "Actually," so remember 218 to 2, we needed 3, so we could have lost 3. We actually only lost 2. I said, "No, actually the Senate was tougher than the House of the 2." That question is asked to me, who was tougher? I'd say the Senate was tougher, actually, amazingly. It shouldn't have been. We had a slightly bigger margin in the Senate proportionally, but it was brutal. It was, they said, "Sir, we have 12 hard no's." You know, a hard no is not recoverable, right? This was at 2:30 in the morning. Mike Johnson called up. "It could be 20, but it's at least 12. So could you call them, sir?" And I said, "What time?" I said, 2:30 in the morning. And we have to win, right? We can never give up. The people in this room, right? You never gave up. Mike's supporter right from day one, and her husband with a bad damn back, right? How's his back? Is he okay? Every time I see him, he's got a bad back, but he's got a lot of cash, so. A lot. He's got a lot of cash. But no, they're great people. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. You were there right at the beginning, you know, always was there. But we have a situation where we call up these people at 2:30 in the morning, and I called up. I got along with them all great. I liked them, but they're tough. You know, they're congressmen. When you're a congressman for 20 years or you're a senator for years, you're smart and you're a survivor because you go through all sorts of hell. But I called up Congressman. I said, "Jim, hi, Jim, how are you doing?" And he said, "Fine, sir." I said, "Family's good, yeah?" He said, "Sir, you have my vote." I never said what I was calling about. I said, "I do, thank you very much. But how do you know what I'm calling you about?" Well, he said, "Sir, I've been your friend for 2.5 years. You've never called me during normal hours. So I assume that if you're calling me at 2:30 in the morning, you're not calling me to ask me how's the family doing." I said, "Yeah." So, pretty good. So I called up everyone. I think everyone with the exception of one had to speak a little bit, but I call up, "Sir, you have my vote." "Thank you." "Sir, you have my vote." Think of that. And we got 12 votes in a matter of, I called back 20 minutes later. I said, "You got all the votes." That's spirit, right? That's spirit. They wanted to maybe hear. They wanted to have a little love. You know, the sad part is that some of the best people are the people that don't get any publicity because they go with something because it's good. So a guy like some of the people I'm talking about, but some of the people where you didn't even have to call, they vote yes, 100%. You don't have to waste any time with them. You don't have to beg them, "Come on, you can do it. Come on, let's have lunch, let's have dinner." And then you have other guys that want you to suffer. I mean, some of these people that I just mentioned, whose names I just mentioned, you got to go through hell. And the ones that are really good, and they love the country, and they're doing right. I mean, what's the alternative? You know, the alternative here, you're getting the biggest tax cut in history, and with the Democrats, you're going to have the biggest tax increase in history. Now, we could go into 100 other details. They're equally as crazy. So I said, so what's the difference? So you're going to say no, and you're going to have the biggest tax cut in history this way, and you're going to have the biggest tax increase the other way, and you'll probably end up in a depression, because if you ever did that, it would be a shock to the whole world. That's what happened in 1929. I said, so you're going to vote for the other side? Well, sir, I'll do what's really appropriate. You know, they're losers. But you have that. Really, they're grandstanders. You know, you have grandstanders, and you have them in every business. And the Democrat has far fewer. They're grandstanders. But, you know, the one thing about them, they have bad policy. They're evil people in many ways, but they stick together. You don't have it where you don't have, I don't want to use too many names, but you don't have a Mitt Romney in the midst who makes you suffer. You don't have some of the people that I mentioned who make it so hard. They make it so hard. And the alternative is one of two things. You can either get all these things and make the economy strong, or you're going to literally have perhaps a depression where you people so rich, so beautiful, so nice to look at, will be totally busted. And let's see how long your wife stays with you. You're beautiful. She'll stay with you for about 3 weeks and she'll say, darling, I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore, darling. I'm leaving you. I said to one guy, he's a very, very unattractive man, but he's smart and he's rich. And I said, you better hope we get this thing passed because your wife will be gone within about 2 minutes. He said, you're right. But so we had a tremendous success, and it gives you the biggest tax cut in American history, the largest spending cut in American history, and the largest border security investment of all time. And again, we're doing great on the border. I almost say, why do we need it? We have such good numbers, but you need it. Ultimately, you're going to need it. I built hundreds of miles of border wall. Without that, you could have never had the results that we had. But to lift up the American family, we increased the child tax credit and made school permanent. We made it all permanent, the school choice. And we expanded school choice, and for every newborn child, we created what's called the Trump accounts. And this was Michael Dell. I don't know if Michael Dell's here, but Michael Dell, well, you tell him I mentioned his name, because he would call me for 3-4 years. I didn't know Michael. I just know he's a great success story and a great guy. That's all he talked about, was the account where you put $1,000, and as a baby is born, $1,000 into an account, and you let it be invested by, I guess you pick out some good money determinant or fund or index. And I guess at a certain age, like when they're 30, goes earlier than that, but when they're 30, they're supposed to have like $75,000. That would have a huge impact on their lives. And it could even be more than that. So that passed. And it's funny, that was one of the easiest things we had to get passed. Can you believe it? I thought so many people loved it. They actually call it the Trump accounts. And I didn't fight for that name, right? I didn't fight for that. I said, that's a very great honor. But Michael Dell was amazing. That's what he said he's going to invest billions of dollars doing it for children. He's going to put a lot of his money into it. But even more importantly than the economic success, we're restoring the spirit of our country. America is once again an optimistic nation. We were so down. It was depressing. We were so down. That's why I ran again. I got cheated. They rigged the election. But I said, if I didn't think I won, I would have never run. Because that's like a poll, right? You lose, you lose. It's worse than a poll. But I saw the lack of spirit in this country for 4 years. It was a dark, horrible place. And for people of religion who were arresting your pastors, they were arresting if you went to church and you had a service outside. And the reason outside, because you had the COVID. And you could go outside. They'd arrest everybody for even having the service. I'll tell you, religion took a big hit because of the way they treated all of us. And we now have a confident nation, an optimistic nation, and we have one nation under God, and we'll always keep that term.
Do you have plans, or if you're back considering firing Jerome Powell, and what's your justification if you're thinking about this to do this?
Too late. He's always been too late, hence his nickname, Too Late. He should have cut interest rates a long time ago. Europe has cut them 10 times in the short period of time, and we cut them none. The only time he cut them was just before the election to try and help Kamala or Biden, whoever the hell it was, because nobody really knew. Obviously, that didn't work, but he tried to cut them for the Democrats, Kamala. And how did that work out? You'll tell me. It didn't work out too well, did it? But I think he does a terrible job. He's costing us a lot of money, and we fight through it. It's almost, the country's become so successful that it doesn't have a big impact, but it does hurt people wanting to get a mortgage. People want to buy a house. He's a terrible Fed chair. I was surprised he was appointed. I was surprised, frankly, that Biden put him in and extended him, but they did. So, we're not planning on doing anything. We're very concerned. He's doing a little renovation for $2.5 billion of the Fed, building a renovation, and they have a close to $900 million cost overrun. and it's a shame. But the biggest cost overrun is the cost overrun for interest rates, because we should be paying 3 points lower, and we would save $1 trillion a year in interest if that were the case. And all it is the stroke of a pen. And that goes for his board, too, because his board is not doing the job, because they should try and rein this guy in. So he's doing a lousy job, but no, I'm not talking about that. Fortunately, we get to make a change in the next, 8 months or so. And we'll pick somebody that's good, and we'll pick somebody. I just want a fair job. We want to see lower interest rates. Our country deserves it. We're making a lot of money. We're doing great as a country. We have no inflation, record stock market, record business, record everything. Everything's a record now. We had the worst inflation in history under Biden, and now we have almost no inflation. We've done a great job, and we should have the interest rates cut.
So you're saying here today that Scott Bessent, you're so happy with him at Treasury that he's not your top option to replace Jerome Powell whenever that may be, whenever you decide what you want to do with him.
Scott's doing a very good job. I'm very happy with Scott.
Is Kevin Hassett at the top of your list?
Kevin's somebody we'd consider. Kevin is fantastic, too. We have a lot of good people for that job. It's not a tough job, to be honest. Assuming you're smart, it's not a tough job. If you're a dummy, then I guess it's a tough job. But it might be one of the easiest jobs I've ever seen. And now on top of it, he's building a close to $3 billion little nest egg for himself. He's not doing the right job. We should be saving $1 trillion a year in interest. When he talks about cost, we should be saving. Think of it, $1 trillion a year. Add that with the tariffs and everything else. But he just doesn't want. He's a knucklehead. But we'll see how that. We'll see how he's listening to this. That's a strange conversation. But we like to say it like it is. But we have a lot of people that want that job very badly. And I'm only interested in low-interest people, frankly, because you don't need. I know. So they had the 71 different economists and people experts that they picked about a month ago. I was the only one, along with one person from maybe the Wharton School of Finance. The two of us got it right. 69 people, including Powell, got it wrong. And he wants to hire thousands of new people to help him decide where we're going in the future. It only takes one good mind. It doesn't take 5,000 good minds. So they're expanding the Fed. It's the dumbest thing I've heard of. But it's very autonomous.
Just to follow up on that, sir, are you completely ruling out the idea of firing Jerome Powell?
I don't rule out anything, but I think it's highly unlikely unless he has to leave for fraud. I mean, it's possible there's fraud involved with the $2.7 billion renovation. This is a renovation. How do you spend $2.7 billion? And he didn't have proper clearance, et cetera, et cetera. So that's going on. So there could be something to that, but I think he's not doing a good job. He's got a very easy job to do. You know what he has to do? Lower interest rates.
Have you drafted a letter to send to Powell if you decide that you are going to fire him? Have you drafted a letter?
No, I haven't drafted a letter.
So you didn't show a letter to Republican lawmakers last night?
No, I talked about the concept of fire him. I said, what do you think? Almost every one of them said I should. But I'm more conservative than they are. No, we talked about it. In fact, we had 11 of the 12 people here yesterday, for a very big bill having to do with crypto, et cetera, and other things. And all of the votes are going with us, every single vote. But during the conversation, when we were talking about it, I asked, what would you do about that? They all said we'd fire him.
Mr. President, thank you for taking the question, sir. You were in Pennsylvania yesterday. You unveiled $92 billion worth of investments. One of those jumped out, though, $15 billion in Homer City to build the largest natural gas power plant ever. I was at the rally where you told Homer City residents that you would not forget them when the biggest coal plant in Pennsylvania closed down. You delivered for them yesterday. What message do you have to those residents?
Well, I'm happy. Homer City. I was there, and I said, I'm going to produce something, I don't know what, because they had shut down this massive coal plant, one of the biggest in the country. And it was just purchased by the gentleman that you met yesterday, very substantial man. I don't know if he's maybe not as substantial as you, I'm not sure. But he's pretty substantial. You know who I'm talking about. And they're going to spend billions of dollars on rebuilding it, and it's going to be the largest plant of its kind in the world, I believe, actually in the world. And it's going to be great. So we really fulfilled that promise to Homer City, but it's to Pennsylvania, basically. I won Pennsylvania, and very conclusively won Pennsylvania. So I owe them a big debt of gratitude. But thank you for bringing that up. We raised 92. It's actually going over 100. So it'll be over $100 billion to be invested in Pennsylvania. It was Pennsylvania Energy Project. So we had, everybody was there. Larry Fink was there. I mean, everybody was there and done a great job. The senator did a great job. And we were very proud. That was a great meeting yesterday. Thank you very much.
For actually for each of you, so for the Crown Prince, are you planning on taking any of the Patriot missiles that you're going to receive from the United States and divert those to help Ukraine?
We have no current plans, as we have an operational requirement inside Bahrain to keep them there
Okay.
for the present time. At least.
He's got plenty of them, too.
And Mr. President, on the fentanyl bill,
They're wonderful. They're wonderful pieces of kit.
They work very well.
American technology is the best.
Yep.
and on the fentanyl bill that you're
That's
signing.
maybe the most important part of this. He has his choice of everything, and we make the best military equipment by far in the
Bar
world.
none.
There's nothing close, right?
Bar none.
Yeah, thank you.
And on the fentanyl bill that you're signing today, do you hope that that's going to restart law enforcement cooperation with China on getting the fentanyl?
Yeah, I think China's been helping out. I mean, it's been a terrible situation for many years with fentanyl, but since I came here, we're talking to them, and they're making big steps. They're also, as you know, being penalized. You know that, right? They're being penalized with tariffs because of the fentanyl, but they want to do something. We'll see what happens.
Mr. President, I know.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. An American from Tampa was beaten to death. He was killed by Israeli settlers in the West Bank. His family has been calling on you to help prosecute his killers. Are you going to do that? An American from Tampa?
Yeah, your first sentence is really, go ahead.
Okay, an American citizen from
Yeah.
Tampa, Florida, has been killed in the West Bank. His family has been asking on you to prosecute him. Are you going to help finding his
Yeah,
killers?
well, so first of all, have you seen yesterday, Ambassador Huckabee has asked the Israelis to conduct an investigation. We want to get all the information about who was involved. We protect all American citizens anywhere in the world, especially if they're unjustly murdered or killed. So we're gathering more information, but I hope you saw yesterday Ambassador Huckabee in Israel asked the Israeli authorities to produce an investigation and concrete information about who was responsible for his murder.
They're reporting that tomorrow. We have a meeting on it. They're going to be
Great.
reporting that to
And
me.
can I ask the Crown Prince a
Yeah.
question, please? Do you think that the Gulf area now is more secure, and do you believe that a negotiation with Iran is necessary at this stage?
Well, I definitely believe that the volatility of the situation has been reduced. And we didn't know where it was going to go on the Sunday. We were very glad when we found out on the Monday. Let me put it that way. And should the Iranians want to negotiate, I believe the ball's in their court. That is the true reality of where we stand today. They are the ones that stand to benefit from a negotiation.
And they do. They want to negotiate. They want to negotiate badly. We're in no rush because, we said we could have made a deal. They should have made a deal. And then we bombed the hell out of their various places. We're in no rush, but if they want to negotiate, we're here. Yeah.
Mr. President, I know you want to move past all this intrigue over the Epstein files, but I do want to ask you to clarify something you said this morning. You said this was all a hoax. Has your Attorney
big
General
hoax.
told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you
No,
seen
it's
of
not the
that?
Attorney General, no. I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier that turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net and so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes. They're bad for policy. They're bad for picking candidates that can get elected. Like in New York, we have a communist running. He may get elected too, actually, but he'll destroy the city. No, it's I call it the Epstein hoax. It takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements, we've had a great gentleman. Yesterday, as you know, went on CNBC and he made the statement that Trump may go down as the greatest president of all in the United States. And instead of talking about the things we've achieved, we've had tremendous achievement. They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had, and all of the things we've done, including in the Middle East. I mean, you see it. Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. President, there's lots of reports coming into this meeting that you planned on firing Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Markets
Is that
reacted.
right? Those are reports, but they're not true.
So what would be useful to know, are you committed to picking someone from the outside? Are you going to interview individuals that are
so
on the
many
board
people
right
that
now?
want that job. I have people that I've known a long time, they're calling me, begging for the job. You know what you need there? A smart person with common sense, but you need a very smart person for that job. I think it's one of the easiest jobs in government. You show up once a month and you make a statement about where the economy's going, and we're going to raise or lower interest rates. It's probably the easiest job I've ever seen. That's why I'm trying to figure, why does he want to expand and add more people? He's going to add more economists to tell him what to do, but the economists, I was right, all the economists were wrong. They admitted it. They admitted it this morning. Quiet. Go ahead.
Mr. President, on Jerome Powell, you mentioned fraud in an earlier answer. Are you saying you want to investigate the Fed chair for fraud related to this renovation?
Well, I think he's already under investigation. He spent far more money than he was supposed to on rebuilding. I didn't see him as being the kind of guy that would want to have parks, rooftop parks and everything else on top of buildings, but who wants to spend that money for the Fed? The Fed is supposed to sit there and say where interest rates are going and a couple of other very easy things to do. And he spent $2.5 billion. I think he's got some problems.
Thank you, sir. You also reported a monthly surplus in the month of June, $27 billion.
$25
A ton of money. With these new tariff rates coming into effect on August 1st, we're going to be bringing in even more tariff revenue specifically. How much revenue do you think we can consistently bring in from these tariffs, and how big of a game changer is this, not only for the economy, but also fiscal responsibility?
Well, we're going to be bringing in, already we've brought in over $100 billion. We'll be bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars. And the tariffs really haven't kicked in that much other than automobiles and steel. August 1st is a big day. August 1st is when very substantial money comes into our country. We've made deals with a lot of great places, but we had one yesterday, that was announced. We have another one coming up, maybe with India, I don't know, we're in negotiation. When I send out a letter, that's a deal. In other words, that's a deal. They don't want to ever say that, oh, how many deals have you made? The best deal we can make is to send out a letter. And the letter says that you'll pay 30%, 35%, 25%, 20%, in one case 50%, Brazil, and because what they're doing to their former president is disgraceful. I know the former president, he fought like hell for the people of Brazil, that I can tell you. And I believe he's an honest man. I think what they're doing to him is terrible. Well, thank you very much. Please. It's an honor to be with you. We're making a lot of progress in our country, generally too. But this is a very special time because we've worked very hard to put ourselves in this position. Today we strike a righteous blow to the drug dealers, narcotic traffickers, and criminal cartels that we've all been hearing so much about for so many years, and very little has been done. And we take a historic step toward justice for every family touched by the fentanyl scourge, as we sign the Halt Fentanyl Act into law. Good job. Good job. Well done. Well done. Thank you very much. With this bill, we are officially and permanently classifying all fentanyl-related substances as Schedule 1 narcotics, which is actually a very big deal. It doesn't sound like much. It's a big deal, as they will tell you, meaning anyone caught trafficking these illicit poisons will be punished with a mandatory 10-year minimum sentence in prison. We'll be getting the drug dealers, pushers, and peddlers off our street, and we will not rest until we have ended the drug overdose epidemic. And it's been getting a little bit better, but it's horrible. It's horrible. We're going to end it once and for all. And we're pleased to be joined on this occasion by my future DEA administrator. He's going to be a very important position, Terry Cole. Where is Terry Cole? Hello, Terry Cole. I hope you're as good as they say, Terry. I hope you're as good as Glenn Youngkin says, because it was his recommendation that got you this job. You better do a good job, or I'm blaming Glenn. Glenn, I'm going to blame you if he's no good. And who the hell knows, but I have a feeling he's going to be great. Is he that good? All right, good. You better be good. But it was really, Glenn has had tremendous experience with Terry, and he said he's fantastic. He did the job like nobody that you've seen, and we take your word for it. Thank you very much, Glenn. Also with us is Secretary Kristi Noem, who's doing a fantastic job. Where's Kristi? Where are you? Kristi. Hi, Kristi. She is doing a great job with Tom Homan, who's fantastic. He's also central casting. He does serve the central casting role, too, doesn't he? And he's a great guy. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. Steve, thank you very much. Thank you. Good job. And we have some good news on Gaza and good news on a couple of things that we're working on at a very high level. But you've done a fantastic job. Thank you very much. My nominee to lead the Office of National Drug Control Policy, Sarah Carter. Sarah, great reporter, too. She was a very tough and good reporter, and you've done a fantastic job. So now you'll be able to put all that experience to work. No more criticizing or anything else. You got to do it yourself, and you're going to do a great job, you know, as reporters do on occasion. Thank you very much. Thanks, Sarah. Good luck. Governors Glenn Youngkin, Jeff Landry, and Kelly Armstrong, where are you? Stand up. Great. Hi, fellas. Hi. How are you? And great friends of ours, Senators Chuck Grassley. Chuck, fantastic. You look fantastic. Looks like he's 44 years old. You look great, Chuck. We're proud of you. Jim Banks. Jim. Thank you, Jim. Good job. Good job. Ron Johnson. Ron, good. We've got that bill passed, Ron. We got it passed. Thank you for all your help, too. Ashley Moody. Ashley, thank you very much. Jim Risch. Thank you, Jim. And you're doing a great job on the committees, and you're getting them through, the people that we need, right? I appreciate it, Jim, very much. I urge him, like, Jim, you got to get going. No, Jim's been fantastic. Bill Cassidy. Thank you, Bill, very much. Thank you very much. And Roger Marshall. Roger, thank you. And by the way, I have to say, John Thune called. He said, can you get my senators back? We're taking a vote, so we're going to go as quickly as you can. And if you feel like the urge, just get out. And we got to get all these bills signed, a lot of them related to what we're doing. So don't have the urge to stay. I won't be insulted if you walk out. But he just called. He said, could you get them back as soon as possible? Representatives Morgan Griffin, Brett Guthrie, Andy Biggs, Andy Barr, Buddy Carter, Addison McDowell, Troy Balderson. Hi, Troy. Randy Feenstra, Thank you, Randy. Scott Franklin, Tony Gonzalez, John Joyce, Dan Muser, Mike Carey, Scott Fitzgerald, Diana Harshbarger, Bob Latta. That's a good group of people. Hal Rogers, Mike Rowley, and Nick Langworthy. Thank you. We've got a lot of great people. That's a lot of political talent we have. A lot of political talent. Thank you very much. Thanks as well to State Attorneys General Brenna Bird. Thank you, Brenna, wherever you may be, because you know, Brenna, she was the first one in that state to endorse Trump. Thank you very much. I don't forget those things, even though this is non-political today, okay? Alan Wilson, Chris Carr, and Marty Jackley. Thank you all very much. Thank you. So 6 months ago, we came into office and inherited the worst drug crisis in American history by far. They did nothing. For 4 long years, Joe Biden surrendered our borders to the most evil and vicious traffickers, networks, and everything else on the planet Earth, allowing foreign drug cartels to carve out a massive footprint on American soil. We were doing nothing. This open borders nightmare flooded our country with fentanyl and with people that shouldn't be here, some of the worst people on earth. And illicit drugs decimated American communities and left us with the largest law enforcement challenge in our country's history, and hopefully will always be the largest. I can't imagine anything being worse. They allowed millions and millions of criminals into our country, 11,888 murders, 50% of whom murdered more than one person. On day one of the Trump administration, we declared an all-out war on the dealers, smugglers, traffickers, and cartels. Within moments of taking office, I deployed the U.S. military to our border and unleashed the patriots of ICE and Border Patrol to defend our country from an invasion. This was an invasion. This wasn't people coming in. This was an invasion of our country, allowed to happen by people either that didn't care or were just stupid people. Stupid people. I also designated the Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. And within a few short weeks, believe it or not, if you remember, now we've even surpassed that, but we achieved the most secure border in U.S. history. And last month, we had the lowest number of illegal border crossings ever recorded. We had in June, the number was actually 0. Now, even I don't believe that, but we're going to take it. How can you go from hundreds of thousands to 0? But that's what they say. And these are very liberal people that do the recording, so I think we're going to have to take it. But the number was 0 in June. Can't get much better than that, right? On day one, I signed executive orders to create new Homeland Security task forces, marshaling the full power of federal law enforcement to eradicate transnational criminal networks and traffickers from our soil. We wanted them out. 2 weeks ago, we secured the resources necessary to achieve that mission when I signed the One Big Beautiful Bill into law. And I want to thank you all. I want to thank you. I want to thank you all. You did a great job. And you could go point after point how good it is. You know, they have just a hit against that. It's one of the biggest tax cuts in history. Really the biggest everything in history. We have things in terms of security, in terms of securing our country, taking care of our police officers, law enforcement, our ICE and Border Patrol patriots. I call them patriots because that's what they are. These are strong people, tough people that love our country. If they weren't tough, they wouldn't survive. But we do more for the country in that bill, I think, than just about any bill that's been passed. And we're going to have to start speaking about it because the Democrats use it. They say it represents death. How effective is that, right? That's pretty good. It represents that. That's all they have. They only have lies. It's the only thing they have. They don't have policy. They can't get people elected. They don't have good candidates. They don't have anything, but they do have two things. They stick together. They stick together like glue. And they always come up with a good little tagline. This tagline is death. And the death is them. We're the ones that are giving life. We're giving life with that bill. And there's so many good things, whether it's no tax on tips. Think of that. No tax on Social Security. No tax on overtime. If you buy a car, you want to buy a car, you get a deduction of interest on your mortgage. So think of that. Things that were never even a possibility. And then so much else in terms of health, in terms of providing care. It's really just a fantastic bill, and it's about time that we're going to start, and we'll start talking about it. But once we do, I think we're going to have the greatest midterm that you've ever seen, because this thing really is amazing. And I want to thank all of the senators in particular for getting it done, It also makes the largest investment in the U.S. Coast Guard since World War II, ensuring that we have assets and all of the assets needed to vanquish the cartels from the waterways of North America. We're building a lot of Coast Guard ships that go very speedily along the water, and they're very lethal. They're very powerful, and that's what we need, because a lot of it comes in as we block up the border. They start using the water. That's a good run. I could use that. They block up the border. We start using the water. And that's what happens. They start using the water. Who would think? They even actually developed small submarines. You saw that, right? Small submarines to get the drugs in. And it's incredible. But we've stopped them. I've also directed the Department of Justice to seek maximum sentences for fentanyl traffickers. We're going to absolutely do the maximum. Since my inauguration, the DOJ has seized over 4,500 pounds of fentanyl, which is a record, including with the enormous Sinaloa cartel bust in May, one of the toughest cartels out there, the largest fentanyl bust ever in United States history. And now with the signing of the Halt Fentanyl Act, in just a few moments, we are delivering another defeat for the savage drug smugglers and criminals and the cartels who have a tremendous amount to say about Mexico. If you want to be nice about it, I'm trying to be nice about it. They have very strong controls over Mexico, and we have to do something about that. Can't let that happen. The Mexican authorities are petrified. They're petrified to show up at their office. They're petrified to go to work because the cartels have a tremendous grip on Mexico and the politicians and the people that get elected. For years, the monsters who manufacture illicit fentanyl have sought to skirt legal restrictions by making minor variations of the chemical compound, and in the process, they've developed even more toxic versions of the drug. One common variant, known as carfentanil, it's becoming more and more common. It's 100 times more potent than the original version of fentanyl. Can you imagine? Look at what you have to suffer with the original. I mean, this is 100 times more potent, and it's happening stronger, more and more dangerous. And as you know, and I have a very good relationship with President Xi of China, but I imposed a 20% tariff on China because of the fentanyl, and I call it a penalty. It's a penalty because China delivers much of the fentanyl. Some people would say all of it. They deliver it into Mexico and even into our own country. We have a 20%, so they pay billions of dollars in damages for what they've done. And I think we're going to work it out so that China is going to end up going from that to giving the death penalty to the people that create this fentanyl and send it into our country, whether it's through other countries or directly. I believe that we would have had that deal a long time ago. I shook hands with them, and then we had a rigged election, and we had somebody else come in, and they didn't know anything about a deal for the death penalty. The death penalty is going to be imposed on people from China that make fentanyl and send it into our country. I believe that's going to happen soon. But as of today, all fentanyl-related substances will be banned forever, and those who traffic in these deadly poisons will be put behind bars for a very long period of time. You know, I did something very unusual. I said, this has been something, a lot of people thought it was impossible, some of the things that have been done. And of course, the great big, I added the word great, the great big beautiful bill, that was something that nobody thought possible. They thought it would be in anywhere from 7 to maybe 3, I'll go the opposite direction, but 3 to 7 different bills. And we said, let's just put it in one, because this way there's something for everyone. And there really is, there's a lot of things for everyone. And when we get the word out how great that is for every single person in this country virtually, and all they have is a soundbite, death. You know what their soundbite is? Death. Aren't they nice, death? They are the most incompetent people. They've lost their confidence. They've lost everything, if you think about it. But Jasmine Crockett is on her way. She's on her way. She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble. But I have to tell you, that was great, and this was great. And I am so tired of making phone calls at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, getting calls from our great speaker. Sir, we have 12 hard no's. I say, Mike, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. We have 12 hard no's. The good news is I call up, hello, Jim, how are you? Sir, you have my vote. Boom. Sir, you have my vote. They just want a little love. Unfortunately, it's always the same. It's always the same 12 people. That's it. It's 5 senators and it's 12 congressmen. And I actually said to John Thune and I said to Mike, I said, listen, I want to have a party, but not to those people that I have to speak to endlessly every time. And they're wonderful because they always seem to come through, other than a couple. Rand Paul Jr. from the Congress and Rand Paul from, other than a few people. But I said, I want to have them over. We're going to have a party for everybody in Congress, everyone in Congress except 12. We're going to have, and Mike is, Tom, I'll tell you what, Tom is definitely coming. The whole group, where are those 12 people? They're the only people I don't see. We could do it today. We don't have to vote. And I would say of the 53 senators, 48, we're going to have 48 in here. You won't even have to come to that one. But these are the greatest people because they always vote yes, and we don't have to go crazy. You trust us, we trust you. And it's been a very special group of people. We really do. I mean, 96% phenomenal and 4% extremely difficult. Do you agree with that? But they get there, most of them, not all of them. Those are the ones we really don't like. But I want to thank you all for being here. This is really a big day. This afternoon, we take a giant step to cement American dominance of global finance and crypto technology as we sign the landmark Genius Act into law. So congratulations to everybody. This is a big deal. You've come a long way since the Biden administration, when they had no idea what you were all talking about, and half of you were under arrest for no reason whatsoever. True, for no reason. And we want to have it, not China. China wasn't actually happy. They were watching this. They like it, and we've got this. We've got AI. We've got a lot of great ones happening, and this is a very big thing. And I want to thank the bill's author, Senator Bill Hagerty, a very good friend of mine. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill. He's a great guy. He's a great guy. He's a very handsome guy. Looks great. He's got the whole package. But, I got to know him. He was ambassador to Japan, and we had a little problem with Japan on trade. But he was my ambassador to Japan, and I went to Japan, and he is speaking fluently Japanese. I said, did you learn it as a child? No, I just learned it over the last 4 or 5 months. I said, you learned Japanese. Maybe the single hardest language to learn. It's actually breathing. It's breathing. I'm not going to imitate it because we'll end up with a big story, and I don't want that. But he spoke totally fluent Japanese. I said, that's very impressive. And he was introducing me to Mr. Honda. I said, oh, are you in the car business? He goes, yes. I said, you're a very rich man. And then he said, Mr. Toyota, right? Toyota. And I said, what business are you in? Let me guess. He said, cars. He was my interpreter. And I was so impressed. And I was getting ready to leave. He said, sir, I'd like to run for the United States Senate. I said, where are you from? He said, Tennessee. I said, well, I love Tennessee, but do they know you there? No, but if you endorse me, I'll win, right? And I endorsed him, and he took a 48-point lead. And they didn't know who the hell he was. And he's turned out to be a great senator. And now they all know who you are. Yeah, so you're fantastic, and we thank you. And just the fact that you're doing this and you understand this is a complicated world, and you understand it, Bill. So you've been great. Thank you very much. We're also pleased to be joined by our great Vice President, J.D. Vance. J.D., thank you very much. Good job. And he's been up speaking late at night on the phone. I said, J.D., how about you taking 3 or 4 of these people, please? Because 3 or 4 I cannot speak to. I just can't. And he'd take them and he'd come through, right, J.D.? Also, Speaker Mike Johnson. He is unbelievable. He's an unbelievable. I mean, if you go by what we're doing, if you keep at this pace, you can't keep it up for another 200 days. But I will tell you this, if you keep up this pace for another week, you go down as the greatest speaker in the House in history. So one more week. One more week. Who needs Tip O'Neill? Who needs Tip O'Neill? He's better looking than Tip O'Neill, too. But no, he's been going at a fervent pace. Would you say that's right? Your wife probably says, you are crazy. You've been aging beautifully at front. He's an amazing speaker, a great leader, and everybody likes him and respects him, and that's why we're with a very small majority, like 3. We had a time when we were 1. Remember? We said we're 1 heart attack away from losing the House. Then we won a couple of seats and a couple of other. Now we have 7, maybe if we're lucky, 7. But we win with, nobody's ever done, I don't think anyone's ever done this before, to win with those small. We had a little help from Tom, too, right, and a lot of other people. I want to introduce also Secretary Howard Lutnick, who's been fantastic. You have done a great job, Howard. We've got trade deals coming out of our ears, right? We had so many trade deals. They're all calling so many, and I really mean this too. It's like, how do you deal with so many? But, I always say when we send out the paper, that was a deal. They don't want the fake news doesn't want to hear that. When I send out the paper that you're paying 35 or 40% tariff, that's a deal. Then they'll call and see if they can make a little bit different kind of a deal, like opening up their country to trade. In some cases, they've never been opened. But we're doing well, and we have a couple of big ones to announce pretty soon, right? Could almost do it today. Maybe we'll say it. Maybe later on we'll do it. Senator Bernie Moreno, a great victory. Bernie had great victory. A great victory. That was one of the truly tough races. A lot of people weren't sure anybody could win that seat, and you won it in easy fashion, right? We won it together when you think of it. But you won it in easy fashion. You did a great job. Great guy. House Majority Whip. This is a great leader, Tom Emmer, a great politician and leader. Really good. And I like his wife even better. His wife is, she's the boss, but you are married to a fantastic woman, huh? And he knows that, and he likes hearing it, because some people don't, they say, sir, could you please stop saying that my wife is better than me, sir? Those are guys that don't usually end up with a good marriage, He's got a great marriage. So thank you, Tom. You really are a fantastic leader and representative. And Representatives Troy Downing, French Hill. Where's French Hill? Where is French? You have been so great. Thank you, French. I spoke to him a little late. He was walking down the hall. I said, French. He said, I'm there, sir. You are great, great, great guy. Everyone respects you, French. You know that. Bill Heisinger. Bill, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good job. Dan Muser. I thought he was going to become the next governor of Pennsylvania, but he likes Congress better, I guess, huh? So, but I think you're terrific, and, you know, I would have always been behind you. That I can tell you. Tim Moore? Tim? Thank you, Tim. John Rose? John? Hi, John. Thanks. Good job. Brian Stile? Brian Stile? Still young? Still nice and young? That's good. G.T. Thompson? G.T.? Thank you. Andy Barr, good friend of all of ours. Thank you, Andy. Monica De La Cruz. Monica, she's here someplace. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Monica. Mike Haradopoulos. Mike, thank you, Mike. Look good. Mike Lawler, Mr. Salt. Well, it should guarantee your district. I mean, you worked hard for New York, right? And you're on television, I'm on television, so this should be good for a couple of points. But without you and your couple of friends from New York, that wouldn't have happened. That was not easy, right? Congratulations. Great job. Anna Paulina Luna. Anna, who is so great. I don't, even if she's here or not here, I want to tell you that she has been so great and worked so hard to make sure we got it approved. Ralph Norman. Ralph? Ralph? What happened to Ralph? Nick Begich. Nick? Thank you, Nick. Good job. Good job. Good votes. I just saw a great poll on you, huh? Very good. Congratulations, Nick. Andy Ogles. Andy, who's a terrific friend. Beth Van Dyne. Beth? Thank you, Beth. Great job. Thank you. Thank you very much for the great support. Roger Williams, a great baseball player, who also had to take a bullet, unfortunately, but he is a great guy. He was involved in that whole catastrophe, but he's fantastic and has been from day one, along with a lot of other people that I won't call out because I have no idea where the hell you are. I think I saw Jason here somewhere. Where's Jason? Oh, it's lucky I called him. Ooh, it's lucky. They didn't put your name because I invited you at the last moment, right? He was over there doing some business in the White House. But you've been incredible in your position. Nobody knows more about taxes and finance than you do, so we appreciate it, right? Is that true, Howard? It's true. Thanks, Jason. Great job. And you'll help out with that other matter. You make him so strong and powerful, right? Along with Deputy Secretary of Treasury, Michael Faulkender. Where's Michael? Good, Michael. How are you? Good. You'll help out over there, okay? And Ambassador Ken Howry. Ambassador? Thank you, Ken. Great job, Ken. I also want to recognize some of the countless industry leaders here today, including Brian Armstrong of Coinbase. You've done a good job, Brian. That's a big deal. Dave Ripley of Kraken. Dave. Thank you, Dave. Jeremy Allaire of Circle. This is a big day. Good job. Good job, Jeremy. Paolo Ardino of Tether. Paolo, thank you, Paolo. Ryan McInerney of Visa. That's a good company. Thank you. Chris Pavlovsky of Rumble. Chris, what happened to your location, Chris? You're always a front row guy. You're just being nice today, I think. How's Rumble doing? Good? Good. If Rumble's doing good, that means Truth is doing good. Truth. That's great. You're doing a great job. Thank you, Chris, very much. Vlad Tenev of Robinhood. Vlad, thank you, Vlad. Thank you, Vlad. Good. Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss. These are two smart, handsome guys. They got the whole package. They're of Gemini, but they have the whole pack. They're of a lot of things, actually, but Gemini's just the one for today, right? They've got the whole, they've got the look, they've got the genius, got plenty of cash, and it's great that you're on our side. You guys are great. I can never tell them apart, but their mother can. I asked, can your mother tell you apart? And the answer is yes, right? Easily, or is it tough for her? Easy, I figured. Good. You guys have been great. Thank you very much. Great to be with you. Let me say the entire crypto community, for years, you were mocked and dismissed and counted out. You were counted out as little as a year and a half ago. But this signing is a massive validation. And even before this signing, over the last year and a half, I think your stuff has gone up more than any stock, or just about more. A couple of stocks that were pretty good, I will say. But you have, certainly as an industry, gone up more than anybody. Nobody's gained the respect in such a short period of time. But this signing is a massive validation of your hard work and your pioneering spirit and your ability to never give up, because a lot of people would have given up 2-3 years ago. So I want to thank you for contributing to the incredible strength of America. This is going to make it stronger, and congratulations on this incredible achievement. You've made our dollar look really good and strong and powerful. It's good for the dollar and it's good for the country. And that's why I backed you at an early stage, and I also did it for the votes, because you did come out and vote, I will tell you. And they changed tune, you know, Biden's team, they changed tune right in the middle of the campaign. All of a sudden, they loved you guys. They dropped all charges. They did have, I got you guys out of so much trouble. And you know what? I don't think anybody voted for them, right? Because you remember, they treated you very unfairly, actually. So it's a great honor that we were involved. And it was a tremendous amount of support that we got at the polls. We won, think of it, we won every swing state. We won by millions of votes. We won the popular vote. We won the districts by 2,750. Think of that, to 505. Different districts too, by the way. Every once in a while that number can change, but it doesn't change by much. The map was almost totally red, and you guys were with us right from the beginning. Exactly 1 year ago this month, many of you were with me in Nashville, Tennessee. Do you remember that day, right? That was a big day, Nashville, Tennessee, when I became the first presidential candidate ever to address the Bitcoin conference. And at this time, and at that time, crypto builders and founders were under relentless assault by the Biden administration, which was trying to crush your industry and crush you as people and go after your families. And they were a vicious group of people. You know, people don't realize it. They were vicious, incompetent, but vicious. Well, Joe was an incompetent guy, but he was always known as a vicious guy. I guess if you're going to be in that, you're probably off, if they're incompetent is better, right? Because you don't want to have a vicious guy that's competent. If you did, I wouldn't be standing here today, right? But I pledged that we would bring back American liberty and leadership and make the United States the crypto capital of the world, and that's what we've done. And under the Trump administration, this is only going further. You're going to do really well. I mean, I'm so proud of what you've done in the last couple of years. And very important, on day one, I remember I did this and I said this and I mentioned this name, and I got the greatest applause of the whole campaign. We fired Joe Biden's SEC chair, Gary Gensler. We fired him. But I remember I was making a speech, and it was just a line in a speech. And I said, and I will fire Gary Gensler. The place exploded. I said, I finished like one, and I said, what the hell did that guy do? There was a lot of hatred there, I'll tell you. And it turned out, as I got familiar with everything, it turned out you were absolutely right. In his place, I appointed a visionary chairman who wants America to build the future and not block the future. He's going to be unbelievable. He'll go down as one of the greats. And Paul Atkins, where are you, Paul Atkins? And Paul, the crypto guys, they said, everybody said, not only crypto, every industry, they all wanted Paul for the position. And he's a tough cookie, too. But they actually said, we don't care. We just think he's fair. All they wanted was fairness. And they have somebody that you're really a champion of the street and you're a champion of the country. You're going to do a fantastic job. I saw you interviewed the other night. I watched it about 2 o'clock in the morning. There was a little thing called C-SPAN, which I don't know how many people were watching. Don't worry, you were on primetime, too, but they happened to have a little rerun. I don't want to embarrass you. But fantastic job, really. You are absolutely so perfect for the job. Congratulations, Paul. And Paul is here today among the commissioners, various commissioners, including Hester Pierce and Mark Yoida. Hester and Mark Yoida. Thank you, Hester. Thank you very much. And thank you, Mark, wherever you may be. Is Mark here? Oh, stand up, Mark. I didn't. Good. Thank you. Good job. Good. I'm glad I gave you a second crack you didn't hear because of the thunderous applause for Hester. But thank you. I heard tremendous things about both of you. Thank you very much. My first week in office, I also established the first ever presidential working group on digital assets, and we have an executive director. Where's Bo Hines? Bo Hines. Right, Bo. And Bo is a great football player, right? Bo is a great football player, one of the better players in college football, so I know you from that also. See, who would think that I know that? I know a lot of things, Bo, but he was a champion player. I stopped the weaponization of government against crypto and Bitcoin, and we ended the lawless operation Choke Point 2.0. That was a bad operation. And I kept my promises to the community and granted a full presidential pardon to Ross Ulbricht. Ross Ulbricht. And you have no idea how important that name became. It was like a symbol, and his mother was unbelievable. His mother was an unbelievable woman, but it was so important to a certain group of people. And in the truly momentous act last March, I signed an executive order establishing the U.S. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, as well as the United States Digital Asset Stockpile, and that's all signed up. And with today's signing, we're pushing even further into the exciting new frontier. Just as I promised last year, the Genius Act creates a clear and simple regulatory framework to establish and unleash the immense promise of dollar-backed stable coins. This could be perhaps the greatest revolution in financial technology since the birth of the internet itself. A lot of people are saying that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Yes? If you say yes, I'm saying yes. I think it's great that you're involved, I will tell you. Many Americans are unaware that behind the scenes, the technical backbone of the financial system is decades out of date, many, many years out of date. You know that. Paul and others are straightening it out, but payments and money transfers are costly and take days or even weeks to clear. Under this bill, the entire ancient system will be eligible for a 21st century upgrade using the state-of-the-art crypto technology. Who would have thought we would have been saying that 2 years after I really met you for the first time? The Genius Act provides banks, businesses, and financial institutions a framework for issuing crypto assets backed one-for-one with real U.S. dollars, treasury bills, and other cash equivalents. It's really strengthening the dollar and giving the dollar great prominence. And, you know, you have this little group called BRICS. It's fading out fast. But BRICS is, they wanted to try and take over the dollar, the dominance of the dollar, and the standard of the dollar. And I said, anybody that's in the BRICS consortium of nations, we're going to tariff you 10%. And they had a meeting the following day, and almost nobody showed up. They said, leave me alone. We didn't want to, they didn't want to be tariffed, did they, Howard? Huh? So it's amazing. No, we're not going to let the dollar slide. If we have a smart president, you're never going to let the dollar slide. If you have a dummy, that could happen. Like the last one, he would, if you ever asked him about the dollar sliding, he would have no idea. But we can't let that ever happen again. Consumers, vendors, and people all over the world will then be able to use those stable coins for ultra-low-cost transactions that are cleared and settled in a matter of seconds rather than weeks and months. And it's really an amazing thing. And with the privacy, flexibility, and decentralization of cash, this revolution has the potential to supercharge American economic growth and empower billions of people to save and transfer in U.S. dollars. It's really all backed by the dollars. It's really a great thing. And a lot of, you know, we had a lot of Democrat support. I have to tell you that. I was shocked anytime you get one but we had a tremendous amount of Democrat support, which we appreciate, and which just shows you that you're doing the right thing. This will increase demand for U.S. Treasuries, lower interest rates, and secure the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency for generations to come. The reserve currency is so important. You know, if we lost that, that would be like losing a world war. We can never let anyone play games with us, and that's why when I heard about this group from BRICS, 6 countries basically, I hit them very, very hard. And if they ever really form in a meaningful way, it will end very quickly, I will tell you, for them. They won't be gone very long. I don't think they'll even do it. They're virtually afraid to meet. I also remain fully committed to my pledge never to allow the creation of a central bank digital currency in America. It won't happen. My first... Thank you. And the other night, I will say, with some of the congressmen and women, they wanted that so badly. That was so important to them. You know, I was impressed that they knew what the hell it was, to be honest with you. Please, sir, please, the central bank digital currency, well, you have to make sure, sir. And I'm saying, what do you know about that? It's amazing the knowledge that people have gained all of a sudden. We had a lot of problems with some of them. I said, we've already got it from the Fed, right, from Commerce, and from an executive order. You don't need it a 4th time. Sir, we have to get it. It's amazing. But they knew their subject, though, didn't they, huh? And we helped them out. My first week in office, I signed an executive order to ban the creation of a CBDC in the United States, and very soon I look forward to signing legislation that will codify and ban make it a permanent law, put it in permanence. I'm also committed to signing landmark crypto market structure legislation this year to grow the industry. We're going to be growing it even more than people ever thought. It's a really hot industry. And for a little while, 2 nights ago, we were a little concerned because we were a little short on votes. Like, I would say maybe we were about 9 short. 9 short at 3 in the morning. We were about 4 short at 3:30 in the morning. And we were in good shape at 4 o'clock in the morning, right? But the people, and few people, have fought harder for the bill than we're signing than some of the people here today. You have been unbelievable. It's our White House AI and crypto czar, David Sachs, who's done such a great job. And he has a show now, he's become a showman, but a couple of years ago, right, it's probably 2 years ago now in San Francisco, and I did his show, and I heard he's a very smart guy, and we had a great show. You've kept it going a lot longer, and is that still your highest rated ever show? Oh, he knows what to say. He knows what. He had a rating that he had millions and millions of people. He said, what's going on? But we had a great show, and I said, you know, that guy's really smart. I said, if I get elected, I was running at that time, if I get elected, we're going to bring him into government in some ways. He's worth a fortune. He's made a lot of money. He's a very rich billionaire. But this is more important, isn't it? This is, me too, you know, it's like, doesn't matter. This is much, I know Howard and I talk about it all the time. Howard could go back to his wonderful brokerage firm, hire 1 or 2 people, and it's not the same as what you're doing, right? We're doing the biggest deals in the world. Actually, the deal we're doing now in tariffs is the biggest, when you add it up, the biggest deal ever made in history. It could be 1,000 IBMs. I mean, if you think of it, it's the biggest deal ever done. So it's hard to go back to a brokerage firm and, you know, make $79,000 commission on the sale of a sock, right? It's true. But I want to ask David. So David's been fantastic. He's done an incredible job. And I'd like to ask David to come up, say a few words. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, President Trump. It's a great honor to be here, and it's true that I'd never expected to work in government at all, and then everything changed after President Trump came on my podcast, and I accepted this job as crypto czar because I thought it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to work for a president who really wants to get things done for the American people, and if anything, that's been an understatement. The first 6 months of this administration have been more successful than any administration in American history. What's been done? It's just been incredible. President Trump has worked at tech speed. We're used to working fast in Silicon Valley, but even this is fast for us in Silicon Valley, the speed at which you move, President Trump. It's really incredible. And now today, you have another historic legislative achievement that is a monumental step to fulfilling your promise to making the United States the crypto capital of the world. This Genius Act will unlock American dominance in the crypto industry by creating clear rules of the road. It will update archaic payment rails with a revolutionary new payment system, and it will extend U.S. dollar dominance, like you said, globally, by creating a digital dollar that people all over the world can use. And for every digital dollar in a crypto wallet, there'll be a traditional dollar in a U.S. bank account, which will create trillions of dollars of demand for U.S. treasuries. So that is the power of this bill, is U.S. dollar dominance. This is a huge promise made and promise kept by President Trump. And there's just a few other people I'd like to thank. First, my family for being here. Thank you. And Bo Hines, who President Trump mentions, the director of our crypto council, he really did the heavy lifting here. So Bo, I just want to thank you again. And my chief of staff, Tracy Johnson, as well, who also does the heavy lifting. And Bill Haggerty and French Hill and all the congressmen and senators who have already been mentioned by President Trump, so I'll save the time, but it was really been an honor to work with all of you. This was really a team effort, but most of all, I want to thank President Trump for accomplishing what nobody thought was possible, and it's true that just earlier this week, the media was reporting that this bill was dead. This bill was dead, and then the media didn't know one thing, that we had a secret weapon. We have a deal maker in chief. And thanks to President Trump, he stepped in and saved this bill. And it's because of your vision, your leadership, your determination, your skill that we're all here today. So thank you very much, President Trump.
Thank you. Is that Laura? Please come. Just come here. This is our superstar. She was the head of the Republican Party, and nobody complained about anything. We won her to great. This is Laura Trump, married to a young gentleman named Eric. They have beautiful 2 children, but she has been so good. She stepped into that position like it was nothing that we won, and she said, "Dad, I'd like to go home right now to my beautiful husband and my son and daughter, Red, but you did a fantastic job, and you worked with a great gentleman, too. He's doing a fantastic job. But I just want to thank you. I just saw you standing back there. I wanted to bring her in. Thank you very much, Laura. Thank you." So under the Trump administration, I mean, I just got back from Saudi Arabia, and we went to Qatar. We went to a number of countries, and I will tell you the level of respect that this country has now is incredible. The UAE, I tell you what, we had a time there, but every leader said the same thing. They said 1 year ago, your country was dead. And they'd say it that way. It was like, I didn't know whether I was supposed to be happy or insulted, but the truth is we were in deep trouble. But they said 1 year ago, your country was dead, and today you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And it's true. We have the hottest country in the world. We had a country, we were a laughingstock with the borders, people pouring in. Can you imagine last month, in the month of June, actually, 0. Now, I don't even believe that, 0, because you have hundreds of thousands pouring in, and then all of a sudden it's 0. But they have it down as 0. And very liberal people take that particular toll. It's a liberal group. So they're not giving us any favors. It's 0 people coming through our border. Can you imagine that? From literally hundreds of thousands and millions pouring in from all over the world. They came from all over the world. They came from prisons, jails. They came from mental institutions, gang members. There were gangs. They came from all over the place, from every country. They came from the Congo in Africa, a lot from the Congo. They came from South America. A lot of came from Venezuela. They emptied their jails into our country. Can you imagine? They allowed that, emptied their jails into our country, and they let them walk right into our country like perfect. 11,888 committed murder. 50% committed more than one person. They murdered more than one person. 50% of 11,888. And we had murderers, and we're getting them out, and Tom Homan and Christie are doing a great job. That Tom Homan, I'll tell you, is he central casting or what? And he takes abuse, but they just keep fighting, and they're winning, and we're winning in the courts, and we're winning everywhere. But we've got the hottest country in the world, and you're a big part of it. So the golden age of America is upon us, and with today's signing, the future of crypto and the crypto industry, the U.S. dollar working together, because they really are hand in hand, is going to be stronger and bigger and better than ever before. And I just want to thank everybody, some tremendous people in this room. And maybe when I sign, I'll ask some of our great senators and congressmen to come on up. Some of the top crypto guys, please come on up, because you guys work very hard at this. And we'll sign this, and we'll get on to the next battle, and we'll win. But we're winning all over the world right now. It's not even close, and we're going to keep it going. Thank you, everybody, very much. Thank you.